إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. A very simple and easy way to understand and never forget the categories of Walla and Bara. You have to know them all. Some pick and choose, and that's why they go astray in this matter. The number one, tawalli. The scholars refer to it as tawalli. Tawalli is the kufr category, the one that takes one, wal-'iyadhu billah, out of Islam. This is what's meant in many proof on this, but the main proof, or one of the main proof, is وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ in Surah Al-Ma'idah. If anyone amongst you takes them as awliya, then he is one of them. One must be free and immune from the enemies of Allah and that which they worship besides Allah. In Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, we told you last week who Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman was. He said, لِيَتَّقِي أَنْ يَكُونَ أَحَدُكُمْ يَهُودِيًّا أَوْ نَصْرَانِيًّا وَهُوَ لَا يَشْعُرُ ثم قرأ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. He said, I warn you. Hudayfa said, I warn you. Let one of you fear of becoming Jewish or Christian, meaning let one of you fear leaving Islam without even knowing it, without even perceiving it. And he recited, وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ, this matter. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Take a few examples to know. So we said this is the category that any proof that you see where it's kufr, then it's this category. Let's take a few examples. One of them is, for example, love of shirk. Love of shirk. Love of shirk in itself is a negator and a deficiency in Walla and Bara. Love, another example, love of the people of shirk for their shirk. That's automatically negated. A third example, love of kufr. Love of kufr, likewise, like the first one we mentioned, like shirk. Even if he's by the Kaaba, holding the gates of the Kaaba, even if supplicating, that's kufr, that's a negator. If one is on his prayer carpet, offering salah, while at the same time loves kufr, we mean the belief kufr, then he negated his deed, wal-'iyadhu billah. The next one is similar. Fourth one, love of the people of kufr for their kufr. Even if one love of the people of kufr for the kufr, even if one is laying down in his bedroom or standing on the prayer carpet or holding on the gates of the Kaaba without doing anything, that in itself right there is a negator. Wal-'iyadhu billah. You see why Hudayfa warned? Because it's a minor thing. He does not have to help for this category, kufr, or promote the kufr, or join them in their worship, in their place of worship, or anyway support. That in itself is a negator. There doesn't need to be additional factors. Another fifth example, aiding the enemies of Islam to manifestation and emergence over Islam negates one's iman. All these examples and anything falling under this is tawalli. This is the kufr category. That is the kufr akbar, the major kufr, that renders one apostate, negating his deed. Note, aiding the enemies of Islam to manifest and emerge over Islam, even if one hates shirk and kufr, that in itself is kafir. Aiding the enemies of Islam to manifest and emerge over Islam, even if one really hates shirk and kufr, that is a negator of his faith. In more recent times, some people added a prerequisite to this one. And they said that if one aids the enemies of Islam to manifest and emerge over Islam, that he's not a kafir unless he loves kufr and shirk. They added, unless he has to love kufr and shirk. However, in reality, love of shirk and kufr, in that scenario, that's not a prerequisite. It's not a prerequisite at all. the talk and the story of Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, which both sides use, is very lengthy, and we really can't go through it because it's very lengthy. If it happens that one aids the enemy of Islam to emerge over Islam, and at the same time loves their kufr for their kufr, then he has fell in a combo of negators. Two, kufr on top of kufr. Negator of aiding in the manifestation over Islam, and the negator of loving kufr. So then he fell in two. It's not a condition, it's two separate ones. Ibn Hazm mentioned the ijma' in his book Al-Muhalla. He mentioned the verse, وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. He said, that's a kafir, major kufr. No two Muslims can disagree on that. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. That's a kafir, major kufr. No two Muslims can disagree on that. Ijma'. Note here that we mentioned ijma'. Ijma' is proof. But not only is it proof, but it's decisive proof. It's one of the three pillars of proof: Quran, Sunnah, Ijma'. Ijma' means consensus. And it's a clear, solid statement to prove a matter. That means they agreed on it. Al-Shawkani in his book Irshad al-Fuhul, this is more of a usul thing, or more of a book structure thing. Shawkani and Imam al-Haramain and the author of Minhaj, they used to have the opinion, or possibly not the opinion, but when they wrote, they would mention ijma' before the verse in the sunnah. And the ulama made consensus. And they would, some of them actually had statements that they do that. Why? Because Quran and sunnah, the proof, may have ta'wil, it may be abrogated. We said some people can go read a book from Sahih Bukhari and think it's proof and throw it at an alim, and the alim tell them that's abrogated. That's the meaning is not like you see it. It has a different meaning. In the verses of the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith, they're like that. But that's not how ijma' is. Ijma' is a clear statement, solid statement, firm and to the point. Their consensus on this matter. And that's why they chose to mention that before. You need to know that if you read books, and many of you have started reading books, to see why they mentioned that. As it pertains to our class, there's a solid ijma' on this matter. The matter of the kufr of the one who does tawalli. That's of course in addition to the proofs of the Quran, in the ayat, in the hadith. You will find when you start reading books of the many ulama, some of you already did that, and one of you asked me about that, when we will mention, they'll mention ijma', Quran and Sunnah. Now you know why they do that. And it's many ulama that do that, even some contemporary ones. They don't mean that ijma' is more sacred than a verse in the Quran, but when it's mentioned and it's proof on a matter, it's a direct proof. It's clear, it's solid, that's it. You can read it and go say, okay, there's ijma', I'm done here. That's why some ulama compiled a book on the matters that have ijma' on them. Whereas the Quran and the Sunnah, they're subject to ta'wil, khusus and umum, and nasakh, in special and general, in abrogation. So that's our first category. Tawalli is the kufr aspect under Walla and Bara. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.